need to pray for him and need to pay for Rachel's grandparents, because that's who her uncle lives with, and they're trying to take care of him. Tommy Dennis is continuing to recover from his knee surgery. He said today that he hadn't had too much pain unless he goes to rehab. And I haven't had a knee replacement, but I tried to help somebody get through that, and rehab is tough on them. But he hopes to be here Sunday. It's good to see Roger and Janice out. They've both had good reports from their doctors, and things seem to be going well. We'll mention that Doug McGahey, Lydia's grandfather, had back surgery, and he seems to be doing okay, but they would like prayers. And then there's a whole list of people. Greg Hamrick, Michael Kelly, Michelle Parks, Kay Main, and maybe Charlie, Amos and Penny, and others are out with the flu/crud. So it's going around. I would say tonight, don't hug or shake hands. Just nod and say love you and go on, so you don't share that with anybody else. Danielle also asked me to remind the folks whose last name begins with C, D, or E that you're scheduled for pictures Sunday morning after services. So it's room 15. Danielle will be there. And let's see, the last thing, Benjamin, we're still doing the Wednesday morning Bible class. We're still studying in John at 9:30 on Wednesday mornings. If you have anything else that needs to be announced, let me know. Send me a text message, and I'll announce that when we're done. At this time, we'll ask David Sullivan to lead us in prayer.
Let us pray. Father, we are thankful that we are able to Father, we are thankful that we're able to be out tonight. We have many of our members here that have common colds, flu, and other things that are nagging, that keep us away from other people. Father, we pray that you return them to that health so that they can be here. Father, we have others that have more serious ailments. Father, we pray that you be with Janice as she is being transported to rehab tonight, where the real pain and suffering of her ongoing getting well is going to occur. Father, we know that Rachel's uncle, Mike, that has been diagnosed with colon cancer. Father, that you be with him, that will be a very difficult to take care of. With him as he has that back surgery, the rehab come with that. Ginger Kelly has several things that will be upcoming for her. Father, we are thankful that we got about Marley Mays and the success of her that she's had on her brain. We thank you for returning others that have been sick, for Janice's return. Father, we pray that you be with Angela Sanders as her daughter's funeral was today. Father, we pray that you be with her in the upcoming time that follows that you comfort her and give her better days in the future. Father, we pray that you be with this church and all that's done here. Teaches your word to us, that you be with the elders that oversee us here, the deacons that do the work that goes unseen. Father, we thank you for that plan that you put in place. Father, we pray that the things that the church at Hueytown does are acceptable to you, that as we ask for your forgiveness, you will give us that forgiveness and give us that home in heaven. Father, we pray these things in your Son's name. Amen.
The psalm for the lesson will be number 7. Saints, lift your voices. Sing all 3 verses. No, there is none like him.
First John chapter 3 is where we'll begin reading this evening. You'll notice that the first 3 verses of 1 John 3 are segmented into their own paragraph. It's the 3 verses we'll be looking at this evening. Thank you for being here with us. What I'm about to tell you, it's not like boo-hoo or like woe is me type stuff. It's just, I'm just telling you this because I think it contrasts so much with what we're about to read. But just me personally, and I know a lot of people my generation, I'm not so much sure those who are older, but a lot of people like myself and those of my generation, we're just generally kind of jaded about the state of affairs of the world, of the United States in general. And so I don't say that to like be all doom and gloom. I'm just telling you that's just generally how I feel. I've grown up, and because of the information age, I don't know what's true and what's not true when something's reported. I'm just generally skeptical when I hear any piece of news. What's the spin that they're trying to put on it and things of that nature. Again, you can believe what you want. I'm just telling you this. I'm not trying to get you to see my side of things. I'm trying to make a contrast here. I grow up and I hear things and I question things that I learned in history class. And when you start getting all the news cycles of like what's happening and what's being released by the DOJ with the Epstein files or whatever that may be. It kind of paints this picture of, the world that I grew up in, where I thought things might have been wholesome, I thought things might have been well. It just isn't the case, and I don't know what to believe. And I've talked to actually some of the older people here about that. That's just generally my outlook on life. And some of y'all have commented back being like, well, that's what they want. Whoever they is, right? There's always a they, and they're an unfaced they. And quite frankly, they're getting what they want, at least for me, if that's what they want. That doesn't mean that I'm a postmodernist. It's not that I think that there is no truth. I absolutely think there's truth. I just think sometimes it's hard to know, especially with all the misinformation that we have today. I say all that to say, verses 1 through 3 here that we're about to read are things that I am absolutely confident in, things that don't make me jaded, things that give me hope. In fact, verse 3 is going to talk about that. So in verse 1, John says, "See what kind of love the Father has given to us, that we should be called children of God, and so we are. The reason why the world does not know us is that it did not know him. Beloved, if we are God's children now, and what we will be has not yet appeared, but we know that when it appears we shall be like him, because we shall see him as he is. And everyone who thus hopes in him purifies himself as he is pure." So, just a few things to think about this evening. In verse 1, he says this: the love that the Father has given us it surpasses everything else. It says in verse 1, it says, "What kind of love the Father has given to us, that we should be called children of God." It gives me the opportunity to identify myself with the Creator. I'm not just a piece of creation. I'm not just something that he whittled and then left alone. I'm his child. And John goes as far to say, it's not only that I say that, but that's the truth. So we are. That's the reality that we get to live in. We are children of God. I'm not so sure there's anything more hopeful than that, knowing that I am directly stamped with the identity of the Creator. So with that, he goes on to say in verse 1, if you feel out of place in this world, that's natural, because the world doesn't know God. And so I do think there are a lot of people in the world, like myself, and that may not be you, but I do think there are a lot of people out there. The best thing you can do for them, brethren, is show them to the Father. Show them who the Father is. Show them hope. Show them the love that he would even call someone like me and you his son or his daughter, whatever it may be. In verse 2, he goes on to say, because we're children of his, even though this hasn't happened yet, when he appears, he goes on to say in verse 2, we know that when he appears, we will be like him. So everything I just said about, I don't know about all the information that I hear from day to day, John says, I know this. I know that when the Lord returns, I'm going to be like him. In verse 2, he goes on to say, because I'm going to see him as he is. So as a child anticipating the return of the Father, I am going to be made like in his image when he comes back. There's so much we don't know about eternity and the Lord coming back. I mean, we know some things. We have limited knowledge of as much as the Lord has wanted to show us. And these are one of those things. I'm going to be made like his image. I'm going to appear just like him at his return. And so he says in verse 3, and this is the invitation for you tonight. He goes on to say that if you are hoping in this, that when the Lord returns, you'll be made just like him, then in verse 3, your life ought to be lived out like his. You go on purifying yourself day by day because he's pure. So anybody who's having this hope of when the Lord returns, I'm going to be just like him, he'll receive me, then your lifestyle while you're waiting for that ought to be dictated by how he lived his life. In other words, pure. So the things that don't belong in my life, I'm going to cut them out. I'm going to do all the cleaning that I need to do that isn't appropriate to bring forth to God and say, look, I'm doing my best to prepare myself at your coming, Lord. So if you're here this evening, I hope this lesson gives you some hope. In fact, that's what he says in verse 3. Look at the verbiage. Anyone who thus hopes in him, purifies himself as he is pure. It's a hopeful expectation. It's a great expectation to know that our Father is coming back someday. And I just need to know that I'm doing what I can do right now to look like him as much as I can, because he will obviously perfect me, but as much as I can purify myself until his return. If you're here this evening and kind of like me, you're a little bit jaded about the world and you're looking for hope, this is the hope that the Bible offers. That it doesn't have to end in this world. As much as I don't like hearing the things that I hear nowadays, I know that it's temporary. I know that it's not going to last, and that my Father has promised something that is so much greater than this world. If you would like that hope as well, submit your life to Christ. Make the changes appropriate to your life this evening. If you've not yet been baptized in the waters of baptism for remission of sins, do that tonight. And if you're a Christian who has gone on defiling himself instead of purifying himself, and you need to make a change, and you'd like to ask for the prayers of the saints, we can help you with that too. If we can help you in anything, please let us know as we stand and sing a song.
As usual, I miss things with the announcements. That seems to be a habit of mine up here. I appreciate David mentioning Angela and not only the loss of her daughter, but that she was buried today. You know, that's a hard time for her. And Joseph sent me a note. He said his stepdad, Anthony's chemo and radiation is catching up with him. He's lost most of his voice and taste. He's also having nerve pain in his shoulder related to the radiation, so he would request that we continue to pray for him and his recovery. Also mentioned that we've got a gospel meeting going on at Oak Mountain February 8th through February 11th, and Lottie shared with me that Vestavia's got a special series of lessons going on about archaeology in the Bible at Vestavia starting February 8th. So if you're interested in going to that, that might be a useful thing to know about. Steve Wolfgang from Downers Grove, Illinois. And I think there's 2 services Saturday, 2 Sunday, and 1 Friday night. And if you need the information, I can get it to you. And let's not forget the shut-ins who can't be here and would like to be here. If you've been trapped at home sick or with a cold and everything else, you know how that can be. Just imagine not being able to get out and be with people and worship. Is there anything else we need to announce before Jeremy leads us in a prayer? Okay, Jeremy, if you would, lead us in a prayer.